Today is my group's turn to convey an explanation about behavioral aspects of accumulating and controlling costs. Well, as you know, in this group there are 4 members. The first is Abigail, Alpha, Bayit, and the last, of course, myself, Monica M. Damani. Here in this topic, we have about course outline, which consists of 4 topics. The first, we are going to talk about the traditional versus standard cost system, and then it will be continued by talking about the direct or variable costing. And then the third, there is behavioral aspect of selective cost accounting steps. And the final course outline is going to be diagnostic review of the American constraint company's dilemma. Well, we start from the first course outline. It is talking about traditional versus standard cost system. But before we are comparing between the standard cost and the traditional cost system, it will be so much better for us for knowing the purposes and the uses of the cost accounting system. Well, here it is stated that the cost accounting system is used by manufacturer to record production activities using a perpetual inventory system. Or in other words, it's an accounting system for manufacturer that tracks the flow of inventory continually through the various stages of production. And by providing the management with timely and relevant cost information, I believe that it can assist in planning, controlling, and also evaluating the day-to-day operational activities and the people responsible for them. And in the other words too, cost data also play a role in the analysis and appraisal of the relative profitability for the desirability of decision alternatives. So we can just conclude that approaches and the system used in providing cost information is differ widely, which each type has its own specific behavioral aspect, and it means that when these are regulated, unwanted human resource may result that range from mildly annoying to outright disruptive. So that's it about the purposes and the uses of the cost accounting system. Then we move to the next slide. We will talk about the traditional versus the standard. Here we have a brief explanation between the traditional and the standard. The term traditional refers to cost system that limit the inputs to historical costs and attempt full absorption of fixed and variable costs by unit of product or service. Meanwhile, in standard cost system, it is said that it was designed to serve simultaneously as a source of information and channels of communication and control and performance evaluation devices. And as a source of information for the responsibility centers, they inform that the individuals in charge what is expected from them cost-wise. And in this standard cost system, we also have to think about several factors in which when we want to develop a framework for a standard cost system that is compatible with modern organization theory concept. And we have to move to the next slide. Here is actually the control steps that we can use in implementing or developing a framework for a standard cost system. So on the first step, we have to do the establishment of organizational objectives, and then followed by the designation of appropriate responsibility centers and the assignment of function to each, and then we have to do the staffing of responsibility centers with individuals who have sufficient ability, motivation, and knowledge for the performance of their function. And in the fourth, we have to concern about the creation of channels of communication between the responsibility center and other units of the organization, and where necessary, the external environmental tool. And the final steps is the development of procedure that assure adequate, relevant, and timely information moves along the communication channels. So that's all about the first course outline. The next will be explained by my friends. Thank you.
Now I will explain about direct or variable costing. Before we jump to the definition of direct or variable costing, we should know the background behind it. So, before direct costing exists, all accountants or businesses use traditional costing method in accounting. But they found several weaknesses from this method. The first one is it charges units of products or service with full cost that will result on over-absorption or under-absorption of the manufacturing or service overhead. And the third one, it disregards that certain overhead costs will remain constant, regardless of the quantity produced or service rendered, while others will fluctuate with volume. And then in 1930s, the direct costing method is introduced to overcome all those shortcomings. So what are the advantages of this direct costing method? The first one is we don't need to make supplementary reports that is really time consuming. And the second one, By using this method, it provides more meaningful research to management and those faced with day-to-day decisions. So yes, direct costing really helpful for the managers because it helps them in decision making. And the third one, by using this direct costing method, we can avoid the confusing accounting terminology explaining the cost-volume-profit relationship. And direct costing are distinguished into two groups, and I think we all are familiar with it. The first one is cost of producing. It includes direct material, direct labor, and the variable portion of overhead. And the second one, cost ready to produce. It includes fixed overhead or paid costs. So what is the relationship between direct or variable costing and behavioral accounting? So here is the behavioral inducement. We know that accounting concepts, principles, and practices influence the measurement of managerial performance and consequently management decisions. But this does not always lead to desirable results because many performance measures have built-in biases that motivate managers to select action alternatives that may not be in the best operating or financial interest of the company. So, through its authoritative bodies, the accounting profession is presently re-examining accounting's basic concepts, principles, and practices in the light of their possible behavioral implications. So, in the process of their re-examination, these two questions arise. The first one, what might this accounting concept, principle, or practice motivate managers to do in their own selfish interest? And the second one, could this possible action obscure actual managerial performance, give the illusion of performance where none exists, or lead to unsound economic actions? If any part of the second question calls for an affirmative answer, the use of such accounting concept, principle, or practice should be discouraged, although it might be sound from a technical viewpoint. So, by this all information, we can conclude that accounting concept, principle, or practice can be called as behaviorally and technically sound if they inhibit managers from taking undesirable operating actions, or it inhibits the adoption of accounting practices by corporations, which create the illusion of performance. Now we move about the cost control. The direct or variable costing is really helpful for controlling costs. It emphasizes cost behavior patterns and profit management with details as to engineered costs, committed costs, and discretionary costs. Engineered costs includes direct material, direct labor, and variable overhead costs such as fuel and electricity. It is readily controllable at the lowest organizational level. And the second one, committed costs. It is usually organization and plan costs that continue to be incurred, and it is controlled in the short run only. The last one, discretionary costs. They include costs such as advertising, auditing, and management consulting services and human resource training. It is controlled by negotiated static budgets. Besides helping in controlling costs, direct or variable costing is also helpful for decision making, as I said before. So in what kind or in what field it helps the decision making? So the first one, it helps in product mix decisions and new product pricing. It also helps product deletion or special order, and then advertising and promotion campaigns, and the last one, cost reduction decisions. So all these explanations demonstrated that direct or variable costing is superior in providing relevant information for controlling the various types of costs and in leading management to better decisions in the light of overall profitability. So it is the end of explanation about direct or variable costs. The next presentation will be continued by my friend.
Okay everyone, the next topic is about behavioral aspect of selected cost accounting steps. This topic will explain what kind of steps in behavioral aspect of when we're selecting the cost accounting. Okay. The first one is standard setting. The most influential element determining the success or even failure of any standard cost system. Standards have a dual function, which are they can serve as goals to motivate cost control, and the second one as performance evaluation tools. Standards will generate efficient worker behavior only if they are accepted as aspiration level by the individual for whose control and performance evaluation that they design. An acceptable or ego involvement will only occur if the standard are perceived by the foreman and workers are as valid performance goals. If they are perceived as unreasonable and untenable, workers will attempt to refute or override them and thereby destroy the usefulness. So as you can see at slide here, here for basic prerequisites for behaviorally sound control system by Raymond Miles and Roger Virgin, which are two of them. These basics pertain directly to standard setting. So the first one is the standard must be established in such a way that people accept them as realistic rather than arbitrary. The second one, people must feel that they have some influence that can establishing their own goals. So, the third one, people must be believed that they will not be fairly be punished for normal change variation in the performance. And the last one, the feedback on performance must be aimed at correction as well as the evaluation. And but this topic divided by two topics. The first one is participation in standard setting. In this topic, I will explain a little bit about the cognitive dissonance theory, because this theory related to about the participation and participate in making standard setting. So this theory already used by Michael Ivan, Michael Foran, and Don DeCoster, and also they summarize this theory. For the theory, they use the theory, as you can see at slide, to gain more insight in why participation is more effective when setting the standard in the company. For this theory, the center of this theory around directly 3K concept. which are violation, dissonance, and commitment. I will explain a little bit about this theory in the context of standard setting. Right? This theory implies that if management wants a definite commitment to the standard, the controlled individuals must have a choice. Once they have the chosen a certain set of performance standard, they will adopt as the wisdom of their choice. Their adopt self will only be reduced when they receive feedback about the performance result. If the results are favorable, their adopt will be resolved and increased commitment will occur. Dissonance resolution or increased commitment will occur even in non-participate goal setting situation. Unfavorable feedback in non-participative situation may result in rejection of the standard and lack of the future commitment. The workers may become so discouraged that they stop trying to improve their performance. They will claim that the standard were unattainable from the start. If, however, the individuals are allowed to choose the standard by which they are to be controlled, and they will be more combined into them. Instead of being immediately discouraged by negative feedback result, the workers will exert even greater effort to reach their goal that they set for themselves. Okay, the second topic, type versus loose standard. To function as motivational device, the standard to be used should be neither too tight or too loose in the company. Tight standard will be missed more often than met. The tight standard really useful only for men or managers who are motivated by a need for outstanding achievement. And the loose standard do not provide any motivational benefits, since they may be so easy to attain that for men and managers will ignore them as meaningless. The level of desired tightness must be evaluated in each situation on the basis of the type of production process, the product or the service to be rendered, and the personalities of the involved individuals. Okay, move to the next topic. Is about next step is overhead absorption. Another area full of dysfunctional endorsement is overhead absorption. Barely this common practice can charge fixed and variable manufacturing overhead to the products at an estimate rate based on a predetermined capacity level. And okay, we move to the next step. It's about allocation of indirect costs. So one of the most controversial decisions facing for each organization. Um, as you can see, as you can see, um, in a study that's sponsored by the National Association of Accountants, James Frickman and Xu S. Liao found that the responding firms distinguish clearly between two types of indirect costs. The first one is corporate service costs, which they are the cost of service performed centrally for the benefit of both corporates and the various responsibility centers. And the second one, the corporate administrative costs, which they are those costs that are necessary to operate the operate official. So we're talking about the purpose based of the survey, also by National Association of Accountants. This step are used for the external financial reporting, internal performance evaluation, cost-based pricing, and decision making. Okay, the last step is the variant analysis. The variant this step also divided by two topics. The first one is the variance investigation decision. So management decision depends solely on its assessment of the significance of the observed discrepancy. Variances have control significance only if they stem from explainable cause. Or in other words, are of a non-random nature and susceptible to remedial action. It would be pointless to investigate variance from cost good only to find out that a machine operator had a hangover, was coming down with a cold, or was more concerned with his cosmetic difficulties than with his output quota or his machine setting. In such instance, the system is not at fault and the variance will in due course and corrects itself. We're talking about investigation without any investigation. The management has no basis for determining whether a certain variance result from actionable and controllable abuse or even uncontrollable nature. And the second topic is about the behavioral aspect. All accounting models for investigation of cost variance are based on the structural or cybernetic view of control. This view can envision control as a homeostatic machine for regulating itself. Its advocates see no difference between the mechanical regulator in the cybernetic system, like example a thermostat, and a human regulator like the workers, employees, foreman, or even the manager. They believe that the response of the regulator are predictable and solely determined by the content of the communication information. They fail to recognize that humans do not respond mechanically for various reasons. Humans may perceive their personal goal rather than those of the organization. They can also be affected by social interaction, like example, group pressure to limit production at an aggregate level. The cybernetic model at best regard human behavior as a random disturbance factor of a nuisance. They also ignore the fact that behavior climate within which performance information is perceived may reduce or can destroy its usefulness self. The specific components of the control policy that may affect human response, which are the control limits, the type of feedback results, the strictness of environment, and the rewards and penalties attached to the control party.
Okay, so now we are going to talk about a case. It's pretty much the same like the other class, isn't it? We're going to talk about a case of American concrete dilemma. It is a pretty straightforward, and it will explain how do we shape our control and our system to make the behavior of our company happy. So in this case, on the Monday afternoon in early May, Mike Bonelli, a business consultant, received a call or perhaps a request from American Concrete Company to solve, investigate, and if necessary, replace the present planning, control, and performance problem within the company. So yeah, I pretty much summarize all these cases, so it will be easier and faster for you guys. And since Mike has no expertise in this managerial or investigation area, where the American Concrete Company asked to solve and investigate and, if necessary, replace the present system of planning, control, and performance problem, he assigned the investigation to Aldona Iverson. So Iverson is someone who holds a degree in managerial accounting and has many experience before in this area. And it appears that she's also looking forward for this case. So Iverson is the perfect candidate for this job. And this is a good thing to do, giving the right job to the right person. It is shown on how Mike hands the issue to Iverson's. So here is the finding that Iverson found within the company. And the moment she arrived in the company, she interviewed Kurt Niessens. It is the company's controller. And Kurt said it is the company's manufacturing process is best suited for a standard cost system. So Kurt give the opinion about having a standard cost system rather than having this complicated and problematic system that the company has today. But Kurt Niessens' opinion somehow did not receive to the surface or reach to the surface of the company or to the executive of the company, because Kurt Niessens is simply just a clerical person within the company. It's just doing a mundane task, a boring task. Therefore, the positions of Kurt is not really that significant to give opinion, and that is something that Kurt wanted to change in the new system. And then Iverson also investigate and perhaps in the other words, interview John Miller. It is the vice president of sales department, and he said sales budget revisions were the responsibilities of the controllers. He and his teams need to stay focused on selling and making an effective selling. So John Miller simply says that it is not my job to create budget revisions, even though she's a salesman department, and she's throwing the rocks and throwing the burdens into someone else. And then, oh yeah, one thing to note that John Miller is the president's relative, so there is a little thing we can do about that. And then Patrick Melly, the VP of Productions Department, he says that sales manager did not make any research and the controllers did not notice the poor sales estimation. So all these three persons blame on each other. Kurt Niessens blame on the system and also the people within the system. John Miller blames Kurt, the company's controllers of John Miller says that it is not his responsibilities, but rather Kurt and Patrick's responsibility is to make the budget, since Kurt is the one who's controlled the co-productions, and then Patrick is the VP of the productions. While in the other area, Patrick, as the VP of production, says that the sales manager did not make any research and the controllers did not notice the poor sales estimations. So it's pretty much throwing rocks to each other, and it is a bad system. So this is the decisions that Iversons make. It is simply to dump the old one and make a new system, because it appears that no one likes the old system. Therefore, Iversons make a new standard cost system. And why Iversons give a standard cost system? And it's because it will provide a more meaningful performance evaluation data for the manufacturing process, and it makes the VP productions happy. If you go back to the previous slide, the VP production says that sales manager did not make any research and controllers did not notice the poor sales estimations. And here, with the new standard cost system, it will provide a more meaningful performance evaluations that the VP productions hates in the previous system. And it will also adjust the budget allowances for the material and labor costs, and it will make the VP sales happy, because the new system will make the job of the budgeting tidak membuat the budget job for the VP sales and many others. And it also, the standard cost system will make the VP controllers happy as well. So as you can see, the new system makes the 3 vice presidents happy. And that is the reason why Iversons came up with the idea of having a standard cost system instead of a complicated one. So there's an additional job as well. The VP controller and production is responsible of setting the desired standards for the direct materials, labor, and overhead costs. It is simply because the productions were handled by the controllers and the productions themselves. And then for the sales and production department, they control the data processing, accounting, legal, production, development, and quality control. And if you notice here, the productions have part of the responsibilities, and that is the reason why Patrick Melly, VP of production, were discussed with the old system, with the performance of the sales and the controllers due to the old system. Therefore, with these new systems, it will make the all VP happy, because the standard cost system simply divides all the job and provides a new system that creates a better environment for everyone. So end of the line, what Iversons did and what the companies did is a really good things to do, since Iversons got the best job designations, because it is the right person. Iverson is the right person for the company to solve the problem, and then standard costing system really effective for its simplicity. And that is the diagnostic review of American Concrete Company dilemma. So for summary, in this chapter we demonstrate behavioral aspect of accumulating and controlling costs. From here we can see that we can create a system that makes everyone happy within the company, and as everybody know, a happy employee is a happy company. Therefore, perhaps we need to listen to our employee and then create all the system and then the behavioral system in order to make the company a better place for them to work and creating a better company as well. And we also analyze the behavioral aspect of cost accounting steps and suggest approaches that could induce desirable employee behavior to create a better company and a better workplace for the system and company. And that is all about behavioral aspect of accumulating and controlling costs.